Hello, this is Tony Hiller from RealClimateScience.com, the climate guy setting the record straight about climate. This video is about the latest fake news from Antarctica. Yesterday, the press was hysterically reporting that the largest iceberg ever broke off from Antarctica. The New York Times said that the iceberg was the size of Delaware and was a glimpse of how the Antarctic ice sheet might ultimately start to fall apart. This sounds scary. When the Antarctic ice sheet falls apart, lots of people are going to drown. It's always a good idea with climate stories to check the data yourself and find out if anything they're saying is true. Here's a story from 1956 about massive icebergs breaking off from Antarctica. The first iceberg that broke off that year was 208 miles long and 60 miles wide, about the area of Massachusetts and Connecticut combined. So how does that compare with yesterday's iceberg, which was the size of Delaware? Well, Delaware is pretty small. On Interstate 95, you drive across Delaware in about 10 minutes. In fact, it's only about 1/6 the size of Massachusetts and Connecticut combined. So the 1956 glacier was about 6 times larger than yesterday's glacier, which the press was touting as the largest ever. As always, this story in the press was just fake news, but it gets worse. Earlier in 1956, another iceberg broke off, which was about the size of yesterday's iceberg. And in 1927, one broke off, which was about 4 times the size of yesterday's iceberg. So yesterday's iceberg was much smaller than ones from 90 years ago and from 60 years ago. And if we think back to 1912, the Titanic was taken down by a huge iceberg. So what are icebergs exactly? Let me explain where icebergs come from. Huge amounts of snow falls in the interior of Antarctica and Greenland. The weight of the snow causes it to turn to ice, which then flows to the sea as glaciers. When they get to the sea, the glaciers calve off into icebergs, which then float away into warmer waters further from the poles and melt. This is the normal glacial cycle, which has been going on for millions of years. If this didn't happen, the glaciers would pile up to the top of the troposphere. Obviously, this can't happen. The ice has to flow away into the sea. The press is full of science mental midgets who've completely bought off on the climate scam. And they've been trained not to talk to anybody who has a sensible view about science. They believe that the survival of the planet depends on them reporting only junk science about climate. Visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science for a long time.